Back in 2021, the Ford Maverick XL was introduced to the world. Starting at just $19,999, it was extremely appealing. Here in 2025, you can still purchase a Maverick XL. However, it has undergone a 35% price increase, with this one behind me costing $30,000. And here's what's really crazy. The Lobo is new for 2025, and this example right next to me costs $13,000 more than the XL I just showed you. Is it really worth that massive price gap? Let's find out. Hello everybody and welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Austin. My dad Todd and I, we make all types of different car videos on all types of different cars. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button, check out that link up in the corner if you guys are interested in Maverick content, because we have all types of different Maverick stuff, from lowering, exhaust, lifting, performance modifications, anything you could think of, we've probably done it on a Ford Maverick. And also, huge shout out to Apple Autos for supplying both this Lobo and this XL that we're using in today's video. Without wasting any more of your time, let's figure out if it's worth the gap.
Let's make sure we're talking through some of the differences between the XL and the Lobo, but getting some of the key facts out of the way first. 2025, the 2-liter saw a 12 horsepower decrease from 2024 and the previous years. Both of these vehicles are all-wheel drive. Both of them have a tow package, but there are some differences that we need to make sure we cover in the video. Another thing that's going to be very important here is we do have the 0 to 60 times, not only with the Lobo, but comparing it to the XL.
Starting up front from the Lariat and up, the Maverick has different headlights, they have different grille options, and the Lobo comes standard with the painted bumper and fog lights. Unlike the paint over there on the Lobo, pretty much everything comes unpainted on the front of the XL, from the grille, the bottom of the bumper here, and the inside of the headlight housings are all blacked out on all trims for 2025. All Maverick XLs come standard with these 17-inch Steelies, however, they're easily changeable for a pretty affordable price as it's a common bolt pattern. Where the Maverick Lobo comes standard with these 19-inch turbofan wheels with an additional optional 19-inch wheel as well. As you can see, we also have a painted mirror cap on the Lobo versus the unpainted on the XL. You can also see the 360-degree camera. This is also a great example of about the 1-inch lower ride height. And now we can also see this painted side skirt versus the unpainted side valance over here on the XL. The Lobo also comes standard with a painted black roof. The Lobo has a painted rear bumper. We have this little light to illuminate our Ford emblem. When we open the bed, we have bed liner and these locking and sliding bed rails standard. My favorite thing about the bed of the Lobo that is standard is this illuminated light and the outlet, which the XL does not have. Also, we have a power sliding rear window in back, which we don't have on the XL. On the back of the XL, we don't have a light and we don't even have a power locking tailgate. We have to lock it with our key as we open it up. No bed liner, but you can put it in for about $500. No locking and sliding bed rails either, but you can also option those in. Taillights are very similar between the XL and the Lobo. However, the Lobo has this little LED line that outlines them, and they're tinted on the inside of the housing versus the untinted housing and no LED line around the back. But both of them still have halogen bulbs. Before we hop inside, make sure you guys stick around to the end because you're going to be very surprised on our thoughts between these two after driving them.
Getting inside of the Lobo, the fun design does continue. Just as we saw on the exterior, it does set itself apart from the XL. Starting with the seats, we have the graffiti that's sprayed all over them. Not real graffiti, it just looks like graffiti, and those colors are electric lime and grabber blue. Those accents continue with the stitching that's on the seat. There's also a Lobo logo on the back of the seats. Going up to the steering wheel, we do see that same stitching and that fun color pattern continue. I will say that the leatherette steering wheel that copies the seat is also on the steering wheel. That is such a huge improvement over that cheap hard plastic that you find in the XL. Talking about tech, the tech is almost identical between the two. We have the exact same instrument cluster that was upgraded, fully digital, I will say, in 2025, and also the exact same infotainment screen. On that infotainment screen, you're going to find our heated seats, our heated steering wheel that you're going to have in the Lobo and not the XL. You're also going to find dual zone climate control. Sticking with the tech, you're going to have things like Copilot 360 with your adaptive cruise control and just some of those fun safety features that you're going to have as the technology and price tag goes up. Speaking of price tag goes up, let's not forget about the B&O sound system that the Lobo has. It's really good sound, but you also get the piped in sound that makes you feel like you're going faster than you actually are. Stay tuned for that 0 to 60 time for proof. We do have a push button start compared to having to use your key over on the Lobo, so a lot of comfort features, and let's not forget about that sunroof. Now that we are in the XL, I had to find the keyhole first because I don't have that push button start. I do notice over on the left-hand side that I have a trailer brake controller, but over on the right, I don't have the trailer sway control that I can find on the Lobo as an option. I also will notice that the trailer behind me, my imaginary trailer that is, can be 4,000 pounds in the XL, and it can only be 2,000 pounds over in the Lobo. I will also add that the payload is different between the two, so the Lobo is technically a less capable truck when it comes to a practicality standpoint compared to an XL. That miles per gallon is actually just a bit lower over on the Lobo as well because of a 7-speed versus 8-speed transmission. So those are things to point out. But at the end of the day, let me tell you something. We're talking again about $12,000, $13,000 price difference in these two specific vehicles that are all-wheel drive, that have a 2-liter, that have towing capability. And at the end of the day, outside of that leather wrap steering wheel that I mentioned, I feel like I'm in the exact same truck. Now, I don't have a power seat on the XL that I have on the Lobo, and the biggest kicker, the passenger, poor you, because on the XL you have no adjustability up and down, where on the Lobo you do have some manual adjustability. However, my opinion is, even at the lowest setting on that adjustable passenger seat, it still feels really high.
Now that you guys know all of the differences between these two, let's go ahead and get behind the wheel and drive them. Behind the wheel of the XL, this is a familiar spot to me because I've owned 3 Mavericks, and my first one was actually a 2-liter XL, all-wheel drive, just like we are in right now. Coming into this corner hot and heavy here, we do have a little bit of body roll, but I do still have that same remembrance that I had in my old Maverick, where it actually is so much fun going around a corner. And I also know from experience that if you just simply throw some Eibach lowering springs on these, it really does wake them up in the corners. It's truly impressive how nicely they go into corners, how well they turn in, and how well they hold on. The body roll is completely eliminated with just some simple lowering springs, but even as it sits on its cheap, crappy tires, it's fun in a corner. It grips, it holds on to the road, and it's engaging to drive, more so than you would think. However, there is one issue I'm having with this XL. And it's not necessarily what you would think. It's actually, see, I don't know, I know that Ford did a small power decrease going from 24 to 25, but here's my issue after I take this corner here. Yeah, I have that body roll, but it just sticks to the road, and it's actually so fun, and it makes you want to push it harder inside of the corner. I feel like this is slower than my old XL was. I had a 2023 XL 2.0 all-wheel drive, and this thing feels so sluggish compared to it. I remember I used to have so much fun accelerating in that thing. I would brake boost it and accelerate. I used to do like 6-second 0 to 60s or really high 5s. And this thing is, I'm struggling to get it under 7. We did it once. The shifts are so sluggish feeling. It's like I feel so much less power. The throttle still feels very responsive in its sports setting like it is now, but from an engagement and fun to drive standpoint, when comparing it to the Lobo, it's like they took even less fun out of the previous gen Maverick XL, which I genuinely enjoyed. I mean, I know for a fact my old Maverick used to shift faster than this. I don't know what it is or why it's doing it, but I feel like some of the fun I used to have in my old Maverick is lost in the new 25. Hopping out of the XL straight into the Lobo, the first thing I am experiencing here is in Lobo mode, the vehicle is just so much more aggressive, is probably the best way of saying it. It holds the gears, it'll downshift when you come to a stop. It's constantly in the power band, or trying to stay as in the power band as it possibly can, which is something that you don't experience in the XL in its sport mode. The Lobo does act the same in the sport mode as the XL sport mode does, but in Lobo mode it really does truly wake it up a little bit. However, in the corners is where it really changes in the Lobo. The steering gets a lot tighter, the brakes, it's like it takes some of the brake booster out and the brake pedal becomes so much more stiff. It's what you want when you're tracking a vehicle. Those paddle shifters, they work when you press them, and they're instantaneous, which is kind of fun.
30, 60,
gets better in every single way when you put it into a corner. Every single way as you try to maneuver your way through the lanes, as you take turns, enjoy some back roads, the Lobo is dramatically better than the XL. It's stiffer, it rides better, it handles better. That's so enjoyable. But what I'm not very pleased with is even with taking one gear out of the transmission, so turning that 8-speed into a 7-speed, it's slower than the XL. We tried it on 3 separate occasions. All 3 occasions, we did a 0.2 to a 0.3 second slower 0 to 60 than the XL. So just for reference, I am talking about my previous 24 Maverick now. My previous 24 Maverick did almost, not far off, of a full second faster 0 to 60 than the new Maverick Lobo. That's unbelievable to me.
30. 60.
I'm not going to lie, the Lobo does look incredible. The Velocity Blue, the turbofan wheels, the grille, the headlights. It's a very sharp looking truck. The paint matching, it looks good when it's sitting by itself. I will also say that as we were driving these around town, I noticed on 2 different occasions in a short time period that people were pointing at this Maverick as we were driving around. No one pointed at the poor little XL.
Nice. I wonder why.
Yeah, right. Like what are you thinking? They're the same truck, right? But at the end of the day, the real question is the Lobo package worth it? You know, the things that we didn't necessarily talk about are there's a little bit different brake, there's a torque vectoring, new rear end,
yeah.
Right? We have another video on the Lobo specifically where we unpack this stuff, the 8-speed versus the 7-speed. So the engineer in Detroit, what they said, I specifically asked, is the Lobo faster than the other XLs? And they said, no, it's not, but it feels faster, right? And that's what they were going for with the Lobo, is on the track, this thing is supposed to feel faster. However, Austin, we just drove this and we drove that back to back numerous times. You got in this one, I got in that one, we switched. We kept driving them. We tried to feel that difference, and what are your thoughts?
Well, so here's what I'm thinking, okay? We went from the XL to the Lobo, back to the XL, just like you said, and I'm struggling to see the price gap there, right? So it's $13,000 price gap, and what I truly feel that you're paying for is not behind the wheel driving experience, you know? In the Lobo, there are some great benefits when it comes to driving it. I look at those as the brake pedal being significantly better with those ST brakes up front. I look at the 7-speed transmission being more engaging to drive with the paddle shifters. Not only that, but the downshifts as you're coming to a stop.
For sure.
Not only that, but I also enjoy the steering feel, the additional heavy weighted steering feel. Now, previously on our Lobo video, I was continuously commenting on how great torque vectoring was and how amazing it was going around these corners. I think I might have been in my head or something.
Yeah, you had Lobo fever.
I might have had Lobo fever because after driving this, then hopping into that, and then hopping into that again, I can't feel it at all.
My opinion is that the technology is there, but you're going to have to be pushing these vehicles so extremely hard, like on an autocross course, giving it everything you have. But out on the public roads, I don't think you're ever going to be able to push either one of these hard enough that you're going to be able to tell that difference significantly.
Here's my issue. I have the same issue previously. I bought a Maverick XL, and then I bought a Maverick Lariat.
Right.
And we made videos comparing the two of those vehicles. At the time, it was like an $11,000 price gap, so this price gap's even bigger than when I owned the other 2 Mavericks. And even when I bought the Lariat with my own money, I thought it was a waste of money. I would have rather have had the XL and done a few modifications to it. And I'm in the exact same boat here, right? Because if you want the Lobo, the only reason I would ever buy this over the XL is if you want the technology that is way too big of a pain in the butt to do yourself, such as trailer sway control, 360-degree camera, the Ford Copilot 360 with lane keep assist, with all of your safety technology and all of that stuff. I would buy the Lobo for that. It's way too big of a pain in the butt. But if you want the look of the Lobo, get your bumpers painted. Pull them off yourself, bring them to a body shop. You're probably going to pay around $800 to get all of your bumpers painted, throw some wheels on here. It's a common bolt pattern. You can find wheels. Heck, you can find these wheels used. I just saw somebody list them for sale for $1,500 off of their newly purchased Lobo. You can buy Eibach lowering springs for around $260 and have this thing sit lower than the Lobo.
Right, and I think that's an excellent point, is we were expecting the Lobo to look and feel lower than it actually is.
Yeah.
You put a stock XL next to the Lobo, and the truth of the matter is you really can't pick up the difference.
I see it in the mirrors, and that's it.
Right, you buy a Lobo and you're gonna want it lower, so why not start with the XL and really the blank canvas of doing whatever you want, and still probably being $5 or $6 grand less than the price of a Lobo.
Yeah, so if you want the technology, get the Lobo. If you want the look of the Lobo, get an XL and do it yourself. You can buy the grill aftermarket. There isn't aftermarket headlights yet for the XL, or there isn't a retrofit to get these to fit on there. But I'm sure there will be in the future.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. So I just think the XL is so dramatically cheaper than the Lobo that I would still do it. I mean, heck, even if you need leather seats, they're like $1,800 for aftermarket full leather and aftermarket heated seats.
Yeah.
And just that alone doesn't get anywhere near what this is at.
I think both of our opinions are that you do those customizations in stages. You start with the blank canvas and you make the truck your own, actually making it stand out from the crowd versus what comes from the factory.
We forgot something very important.
Well, spit it out.
Very important. This Maverick looks super lame in white. You can get it in Velocity Blue for not an upcharge. You can also get it in more colors than you can get the Lobo in.
Right.
You can only get the Lobo in blue, white, black, and gray. The Maverick XL has more color options than the Lobo, which is also kind of interesting. None of them are an upcharge either.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for tuning into the video today on Performance on Wheels. We love our Mavericks. We love a lot of other cars as well. So hit that like, subscribe button so we can see you next time.
And if you guys are looking for the best mods that you should buy for your Maverick, be sure to check out our recommendations down in the description below, where we have purchased every single one of these and can assure they are fantastic products that you're going to enjoy. So check them out down below. Thanks for watching.